English literature, related with the study of background to the English literature. And my today's topic is origin of the English drama. So, first let us discuss its beginning, how it started. Drama in England began as the handmaid of religion. So we will be discussing how English drama started uh, and in England. So in the Middle Age is the period of 1,000 year between the ancient age and the modern, from the 5th century AD to 15th century AD. So, the Middle Ages, church services were conducted in Latin. So, English was not so popular at that time. And this was not understood by most of the congregation because they were not Latin speaker. The clergy therefore often tried the expedient of acting episodes from the life of Christ and other scenes from the Bible on appropriate occasion. Christmas witnessed the representation of the stories of Christ nativity, Easter that of the resurrection, and other season the event proper to them. The Passion play depicting Christ's suffering and the death on the cross is still enacted at the Baravian village of Oberemmergau. So, the actor in these religious performance or pageant were all priest or monk, and they were usually given inside the church. So, in the olden days, these religious drama were performed by the clergymen, people related with the church, and they were performed in the church itself, not outside church or in some auditorium. So as more character were introduced and the performance became more elaborate, more space was required for them because church was did not had a big auditorium or wider space, and soon they had to move out of the church into the churchyard and so into the street. So the English drama, which was first began as a religious drama, began with the religious drama related with the life of Christ or Bible. It started from church, indoor. Then it came out of the church from the churchyard, either in front or at the back, and then it moved on to streets. Then from street, later on to the closed rooms, closed auditoriums. So the miracle and the mystery plays. In course of time, the play is developed a secular tendency from religious to secular. With the change of locality, ordinary laymen began to take the part of the character. So earlier it was only the people related with the church, the clergymen or other people, but now the ordinary people also. Though the direction was still in the hands of clergy. There were, however, a marked inclination toward more and more humorous scene, which sermon served as a relief to the religious motive of the plot. In the beginning, it was only, all the plays were mostly very serious kind. There were no humor in it, but because they were too heavy for people, so to make a little bit lighter, some humor scene were also introduced. Sometimes the trade guild of some town, under the supervision of the church, produce a connected series, a cycle of plays, dealing with the chief scriptural event from the creation of man to the resurrection of Christ. They were called miracle play or mysteries. But technically, as Nicole points out, there is a distinction between the two. Miracle dealing with the lives of saint and mysteries with theme taken from the Bible. Now, Bible is also the source of many English drama, early English drama, because uh, either the British dramatist and writer, they have the sources from Greek drama or from the Bible, biblical allusion. They were shown at separate station in the town on wheeled theatre drawn by horses. All the play comprising the cycle began simultaneously in different locality and then move on to the other places where they were performed afresh. uh, the whole series was thus shown at all the stations, though not everywhere in chronological order. Spectacular effects were not wanting. Thunder was imitated by the beating of the drum, and a dragon mouth represented hell. So, in the early days, hell was symbolically taken as the mouth of a dragon. Costume were equally simple, not as an extravagant like these days. The actors were all members of the various guild or trade companies who collaborated to entertain the town. A special features of these early performance was the humorous element. So humor element were introduced at that time, provided sometime by Noah's wife, figuring as a shrew. Now Noah is a character in Bible. Anybody who has read Bible or belonging to any Abrahamical religion, whether it is Judaism, Christianity, or Islam, know the prophet Noah was is considered as a prophet in these three religion of Abrahamic. So, sometime by Saturn indulging in ridiculous gestures, and sometime by Herod, portrayed as a ridiculous raging tyrant. So, there are some humor being introduced by these through these characters. These cycles were doubtless acted all over England in the 13th, 14th, and 15th century, but only four of them have been preserved. Others were lost because at that time writing was not so popular. So, those of Chester comprising 25 plays, York 48 plays, Townley or Wakefield 32 plays, and Coventry 42 plays. So only these plays have been preserved, other were not, because they were not able to passed on from generation orally. So the morality and the interlude. About the middle of the 15th century, the drama broke fresh ground, substituting moral teaching for purely religious instruction. So the basis of the drama till 15th century also was religious. The character underwent corresponding change. They were no longer biblical figure, but personified virtues and vices with a stock figure known as the vice who replaced Satan. So, from the religious character and the evil character of Satan, it has moved on to different character. The best known of these moral plays or morality, as they were called, is Everyman. So, it is a famous play belonging to the late 15th century. It is a work of unknown authorship. Which has often been presented in modern times. So it is famous, but nobody knows the author of this play. Humor was kept alive in the follies of the wise, who is the direct forerunner of the Shakespearean clown. Towards the close of the 15th century, another type of play arose, which are known as interlude, which has not yet been it has not been exactly defined. Probably it means a play in the midst of other festivities of business. Means you can read about this in by Nicole in the book British Drama. So, but we find the term morality being used, but interlude is a little bit not very much defined by scholars and critics. The two forms, it seems, were not sufficiently distinguished, and we may perhaps regard the interlude as a traditional form between the morality and the Elizabethan drama. It was generally of an instructive or controversial nature, discussing either the topic of the day or matter of the general interest. So, in those days, also literature was also used for social concern. From the nature of its subject, it admitted a more human in dialogue and scene than the earlier form of drama. John Haywood, the 4P, is a well known specimen of this time. So, please read the 4P by John Haywood. So, as the subtitle states, it is a very merry interlude of a palmer, a pardoner, a apothecary, and a peddler, all with P. So, the title is fourth P. So, there are four main characters: the palmer, P; the pardoner, P; the apothecary with P; and the peddler. Now, let us discuss the classical limitation of the English drama. The revival of learning naturally led to the performance of Greek and Latin plays in schools and colleges. The next step forward was plays in English on the classical model. Of these, the earliest is the well known comedy Ralph Roister Doister. So, it is a famous comedy, though not very famous these days. It is Ralph Roister Doister, which was written in 1550 or near about by Nicholas Udall. He was the headmaster of Eton. Eton is famous in India as a series of restaurant. So he was Nicholas Udall was headmaster of Eton and later of Westminster, which certainly maintained the classical tradition. So, the drama Ralph Roister Doister is based on the classical nature and it follow classical tradition. It was followed soon after by Grammar Girton Needle. So these are not very famous dramas these days, but we should read it to understand the background to this of English literature. And Grammar Girton Needle was of doubtful authorship, performed at Christ College, Cambridge in 1552. Seneca provided the model for the first English tragedy, Gorboduc of Ferrets and Porrex. So, Senecan tragedy, Gorboduc is still very famous. They both were written jointly in 1561 by Thomas Sackville and Thomas Norton, which was also the first English play to employ blank verse. So, earlier people were more interested in rhyme, but this play or Gorboduc, which is also called as Forex and Porex, was written in blank verse, and it was the first to be written in blank verse. So I think one should write this separately also. One should keep in mind, because all these question do comes in the competitive examination like NET and CRET. Gorboduc is the first drama in English to be written in blank verse. So how native drama rise of the native drama. English drama after that stood at the crossroad. It could either follow the Latin model cultivated by the universities or the path it has been pursuing independently so far in the various form already mentioned. On the one hand was the drama of alien origin, rich but academic, and on the other hand, one of the native growth, which however needed polish and discipline to give it an artistry qualities. The problem was solved by the immediate predecessor of Shakespeare, who, rejecting the advice of classical scholars like Sir Philip Sidney, a very big name in English literature, turned to native traditional themes to meet a more popular taste. A new spirit was abroad in Europe, and playwrights everywhere were turning away from the classical rule as an impediment to the development of their art. So now they don't were not interested in following the classical tradition. All such innovation led to the bitter literary controversy, but the movement could not be halted. It did not stop. See, every age uh, transforms. As in Hindi we say, "Badlav hi prakriti ka niyam hai." So change is also one of the universal rule, and it implies in each and every field, and it is uh, for literature also. So all such innovation led to a bitter controversy, but the movement could not be halted, and in due course, the best element of the literary and the popular drama were emerged in the masterpieces of Elizabethan age. So we have seen that Elizabethan age is considered as the golden age in English literature, because lots of masterpieces, dramas were written in this age, and even poetry also. So I hope this topic is clear. Thank you. If anybody has any question, you may ask or you may write below it. Thank you, everyone.